when it's early in the A-rough that means the spring. The birds are glad to see you. Here's what they sing. Geef me een foutje, een slaantje to you, and the top of the morning too.
Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Tuesday, May 19th, 2015. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning Closer to 5 because it's the off season. And while there is plenty of news to discuss, we also want to make the BM5 an interactive experience for you guys so you can help us carry the load here until training camp kicks back in. So today we're going to discuss the 5 greatest living Buckeyes. Now, this does not mean Archie Griffin. Essentially, this will be a ranking of the best players in the NFL that hailed from Ohio State. Hence, greatest active Buckeyes, because we're going to assume these guys get better even when they leave Columbus. Then we will be joined by the Dean himself, Bill Kurelic, who will look back at a very interesting group of quarterbacks from the 2011 recruiting class. Who knew Ohio was so stacked? Hope the sun is shining for you the way it is in the Gem City finally. Sit back and enjoy some Morning Five-ish. Okay, let's go over the parameters one more time real quickly so we can have a clear understanding of how we're ranking things, and then everyone can voice their opinion in the thread below. That's the point. Greatest living Buckeyes. We mean active football players, and we are making the assumption that guys in the NFL rank out. So essentially what you're getting is a ranking here of the top 5 active Buckeyes in the NFL. Super interesting topic once I got into it. What are we using as the standard here? Kind of a combination of factors. One is the eye test. I'm a nerd. I've watched a lot of pro football. I've had the Sunday ticket for longer than I'm willing to admit. Second is Pro Football Focus, a site, an operation that reviews video of all the players and ranks them. It's a very impressive and non-biased approach, so we'll fold that in as well. Perhaps the most interesting part of doing this was that of the active Buckeyes in the NFL, 2 of them have really separated themselves from the pack. So we're going to count down 5 to 1 here in order of how they are today. Number 5, I'm going with Jack Mewhort, offensive lineman of the Indianapolis Colts. Started as a rookie and was a standout. Perhaps the most impressive thing about Mewhort is how little you heard about him. Believe me, if you're allowing sacks on a franchise player like Andrew Luck, they will get to you in the media. My understanding is Mewhort has been an absolute pillar there, penciled in for the next decade or so. Number 4, and definitely the most surprising guy on this list, if we would have been soothsayers and seen it a year ago, Corey Linsley, center of the Green Bay Packers. Prior to the draft, I know for a fact that Corey Linsley was exploring his future outside of football because he wasn't sure he was going to stick. This is a very smart guy with a financial economics type degree from Ohio State and thought he was going to go into the professional sector possibly early on. Instead, he was basically a day one starter thanks to injury protecting who might be the greatest quarterback walking the earth right now in Aaron Rodgers and has a great future there. Everything you read about Linsley is that he's a man for the future. Pro Football Focus referred to him as, and I quote, one of the better young linemen in the league. So very, very impressive. Number 3, Malcolm Jenkins, defensive back of the Philadelphia Eagles. He was a star at Ohio State at corner, played some corner for the Saints early on, and has switched to safety. He's not the most physically talented guy on the field, but he is a reliable leader of a secondary, of a playoff contender. He's a clutch player. He's a versatile player, kind of the modern defensive back that can play safety and play in the box, play as the high man. So Malcolm Jenkins is kind of a Swiss Army knife of a defensive back and a valuable veteran presence. I don't expect him to be on this list next year, given the number of youngsters Ohio State has coming in, but right now I have Malcolm Jenkins, number 3 on the list. Okay, number 2 and number 1 are both guys that made Pro Football Focus's awards list at the end of the year. Second team, all NFL, and number 2 on our list, Jonathan Hankins. Somewhere along the way, people have adopted the narrative that Hankins made a mistake leaving early. That is not the case from a football standpoint. He played over 700 snaps last year. He was the second team nose tackle for Pro Football Focus, meaning he's the second best player at his position in the NFL. And while he has gained the reputation as one of the premier pluggers against the run, what got him such a high ranking, he's also very disruptive as a pass rusher, one of the best from his position in the league. The number 69 player overall in the NFL. Number 1 on this list, actually it wasn't even really that close, Nick Mangold, center the Alter grad from the Jets. Clearly the best player at his position, according to Pro Football Focus. The 4th overall lineman in the league, according to them. A plus 22.6 ranking, which is a great ranking, and the number 32 overall player in the league. So Nick Mangold remains the greatest living Buckeye when it comes to on-field production, and we're talking in the NFL. Again, number 2, Jonathan Hankins. Number 3, Malcolm Jenkins. Number 4, Corey Linsley. Number 5, Jack Muellert. Some other guys that we considered. I think Bradley Roby has a chance to make this list going forward. Andrew Norwell was considered by Pro Football Focus to be a revelation in Carolina. If he can build on that, he has a chance to be an unbelievable free agent success story. And we also think this could be a tremendously big year for Carlos Hyde. If you're a fantasy football player, this is a guy you want to get your hands on. That's enough for me. And now the Dean looks back at a class of quarterbacks from 2011 and the state of Ohio that figures to play a major role in college football this year and professional football going forward for years after that.
I want to take a stroll down memory lane today and go back to the year 2011 and specifically go back to the Ohio class of 2011 and more specifically go back to the Ohio quarterback class of 2011. It's a class that I refer to as the year of the quarterback in the state of Ohio. In my print publication in those days, I ranked the players in the state of Ohio by position, and my top 5 quarterbacks out of the 5, I hit on 4 of the 5, which is certainly not a bad percentage when ranking quarterbacks. The number 5 quarterback in 2011 in the state of Ohio, I had as Cole Stout, who signed with Clemson. Stout backed up Taj Boyd from 2011 to 2013, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. Boyd was an outstanding quarterback for the Tigers. And then when Stout got his big chance in 2014, he started the majority of the games for the Tigers, and Stout ended up having a solid year in 2014. My number 4 quarterback in the state of Ohio in 2011 was a familiar name to Big Ten fans, Connor Cook. Cook, of course, signed with Michigan State. He was a guy that I saw at Ohio State's football camp that summer and liked a lot. However, the Buckeyes already had a very early commitment from Braxton Miller, and Connor Cook ended up going with Michigan State, and the rest, as they say, is history. He is almost certainly going to be a first-round NFL draft choice this coming year, and Cook has had an outstanding career for the Spartans. My number 3 quarterback in the state of Ohio in 2011 was my one miss. I had Patrick Coyne as my number 3 quarterback. He signed with Cincinnati but never really made it with the Bearcats and eventually switched positions, so he is my one miss out of my top 5 quarterbacks in the class of 2011 for the state of Ohio. My number 2 guy that year certainly is a very familiar name to Buckeye fans, Cardale Jones. Jones, of course, led the Buckeyes to the national championship last season and is now projected to perhaps be a first-round NFL draft choice, providing he wins the starting job for Ohio State this season. And Cardale Jones, certainly with what the NFL scouts see in him, has lived up to his ranking as the number 2 quarterback in the state of Ohio for the year 2011. My number 1 guy, of course, for that year was Braxton Miller. Miller has had a great career at Ohio State. He's been a 2-time Big Ten MVP, and though he missed this past season with his injury, certainly he has lived up to his billing as my number 1 quarterback in the state of Ohio that year. And certainly when you look at Braxton Miller as well as Cardale Jones and then Connor Cook, it is not any stretch to call the year 2011 the year of the quarterback in the state of Ohio. And certainly those quarterbacks are not only been great for the most part in college, but are going to impact the NFL draft this coming year.